The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Reaper Apparel Company. Reaper Apparel offers a casual line of superb fit, finish, and comfort. We design for those who refuse to die slowly and choose to live untamed. For those who aren't afraid to face the dark, for the ones that thrive in it, and for those who can appreciate life through a grim lens. That's Reaper Apparel Company. Go to the link in the description of this episode, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my own personal merch store, the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. I have hats, I have t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, water bottles, notebooks, you name it, I've got it. The description and the link for that will be in the description of this episode. Also, right now, if you use the promo code WELCOME, I will give you 5% off of your first purchase. That's the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Tactical Brotherhood, all American-made apparel, which helps support the Second Amendment. You can also find all this in the description of this episode with the link, Tactical Brotherhood. Part of every proceed does go to helping veterans, as it is a very good cause. All American-made products made right here in Minnesota. Go and check them out. Use the promo code PATRIOT15 to get 15% off your purchase. Now, let's start the show. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. This is, as always, your host, Mike Bono. I have a great episode for us today, but first and foremost, everyone, please go and peep all of the sponsors that you heard at the beginning of the episode. That is Tactical Brotherhood, Reaper Apparel, and my own personal merch store, the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. Go and check those out. I got all the promo codes in the beginning, and I will have those in the descriptions of this episode too as well. But my guest today, coming to us, he is former Bethany graduate too as well, like myself. And we're going to get into a little bit about what he does. And he's also another fellow Italian that I'm so happy to have back on the show. Jordan DeMarco joins the show. Jordan, thanks for joining, buddy.
A big deal with the to get the Italians on.
You have to.
It's a good. You have to, right?
Absolutely. Trying to get as many paisans on here as I possibly can.
Yeah. When Falcone, he's the one who kind of introduced me to everything. I said, if he's listening, tuning in, it's good enough for me. Another paisan. So
that seems to be the running theme here is fitting getting everybody on here.
Yeah.
All right. So first off, tell me, where are you originally from, and where did you grow up?
So I grew up all in Virginia. Like we'll call it Fredericksburg. Really Orange County, like 25 minutes west of Fredericksburg, but. All of my family is from the Pittsburgh area. My mom and dad graduated from Elizabeth Forward High School, which is about 16 miles south of Pittsburgh. Like my whole entire family's from there. But they were both teachers and they couldn't get jobs up in PA at the time. So like a lot of people from Pittsburgh, they had to venture down south to get jobs. And so I went to high school all down there and everything like that.
I got you. So what was it like growing up there, from Pittsburgh to Virginia? I mean,
completely different culture, honestly. I almost moved back. We won't start at the beginning. I almost moved back my freshman year of high school, and I really wanted to. Pennsylvania, especially Western Pennsylvania, I played sports growing up, so high school football is a huge thing. And the culture is a lot different in Virginia than it is in Pennsylvania. I was fortunate in Virginia where I grew up at. I grew up in like a lake community, like on a lake. Okay. So like it was great. We had a little bass boat. We'd go bass fishing. Like summers on the lake was great. So I was fortunate to grow up in a really good environment. But when it came to sports, like it wasn't as serious in Virginia, if that makes sense. Like in Pennsylvania, it's everything. On a Friday night, everything's closed down. Everyone's at the game. Virginia was a lot different. But my dad and mom really instilled that Western PA kind of mentality, I guess you would say. So I kind of carried that with me in Virginia a lot. And I can credit that to a lot of, living in Virginia was nice to have that attitude that they instilled in me, because the culture is just a lot different.
Yeah, I mean, I get that a lot. I originally grew up about an hour outside of Pittsburgh in West Virginia, a little town called Fallsby, West Virginia.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and just like you said, football Friday nights, towns are shut down. Like that's a normal.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like that.
Yeah, and you know what? I loved it. I played high school ball and everything like that, and it was just great. I mean, I wasn't a starter, so you got to see the crowd a little bit more from the sidelines, and just seeing the whole town coming to a game, whether we were 9-0 or we were 0-9, like they still came out, and it didn't matter what the record was. My dad still has season tickets to my high school. My old high school. To Brook, yes.
Yeah.
And I got a nephew that's a senior now, but there was a span of like 5 years where there was nobody in the family there, playing ball, and he still kept his season tickets, and he still has them, and he still goes to games every Friday night, and it's just like, why are you still going?
Right. Yeah.
What are you watching?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of going off of that, like the sense of community, like, that's a big thing still back in those towns. You can group, where you're at in West Virginia, Fallsby, and even like Steubenville, Ohio, like from there to Western Pennsylvania, it's all the same. The Ohio Valley and the Whippeal, like it's the same mentality. It's all about the community. It's all about football. And like, I love that stuff. Like I love it. I get geeked up for it, and if you didn't see that, like, no matter how good we were in Virginia, like we played 6A ball where I was at in Virginia, which is, our school had 2,200 kids in it. So we were a big school, but even then, like no matter how good you were, your crowds aren't sold out. It's like the weirdest thing, but then you go back to where you're talking about, you have a team that's 1-9 and it's sold out.
Yeah. I don't think I played all 4 years in high school, and I don't think, even at the freshman level, I don't think I ever remember seeing an empty seat in the place. And, I don't think kids get that nowadays. I mean, even here, I moved to a little town in Ohio called Philo, Ohio, a couple of years ago, and my son's been playing ball there, and I look around, I'm like, why are there so many empty seats? Like, we're at a high school. Like, I told my wife, because we're less than a mile away from the stadium where we live, so if it's kind of a crappy day, we can kind of sit under our covered back porch and listen to we can hear the game, and we're still there close enough that we can understand what's going on. But, if it's nice out and it's a Friday night and neither of us have to work, like, we're at the games, and I'm looking around like, man, I'm not used to this. Like, I'm so used to packed stadiums, and I don't think kids get that anymore nowadays, especially with sports. And it's upsetting because it's starting to deter my son away from wanting to play in high school.
Sure.
He'll be in high school next year, and it's just like, dude, just give it a minute. Like, let it sink in. I mean, it'll get better.
Well, you're seeing, like, high school sports it's going in a weird direction, and I'll always say this, it trickles down from the top to bottom. It trickles down from the highest level, from the NFL to college ball to high school. And social media's had a big influence on a lot of that too, I think. And kids are playing for the wrong reasons these days. Here's a great thing. I heard it from someone that told me this. If you take kids now that are in middle school or, like, let's say 3rd through 5th grade, all you'll ever see them watch anymore is highlights. So they'll watch highlights of their favorite player, but they will rarely sit through a whole entire game on a Sunday or a Saturday or on a Friday and watch the whole game. Absolutely. Does that make sense? Like, they'll just watch the highlights. And that, like, stuck out to me. One of the a college coach told me that. He's like, have you ever noticed that? I said, you're so right. Like when do you see a kid that will put on the football game and sit there and watch it through and through? They just want to see the highlights of things.
Right. I could get my son to sit down and maybe watch a quarter of a game with me on Sunday.
But he would go put on whoever's highlights and watch their highlight tape.
Absolutely.
It's odd.
I get it. We're living in an age that I'm showing my age here a lot, but I don't understand it. It's this. It has to be within a minute, otherwise I lose attention.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I guess Yeah, go ahead.
It's just the social media aspect of it. It's just taking over.
And yeah, you're 100% right about that. I agree. And I guess maybe me too. Like, I'm 25, but I probably act a lot older than I am. But I come from like coaches. Like, my father was a football coach for 35 years. My uncle has been a coach for 40 years. So I grew up, like, I'd never forget. I'd go sit in the computer room with my dad when I was probably 4 years old, and he'd be reviewing tape from last Friday's game. And he would play the play over and over and over again, one play, grading his players. Right. I'll never forget sitting there and watching all of that and like, I loved being a coach's kid. I guess I just absorbed all that and liked looking at the details of every play. How many times I've put on an NFL game and I'll see something, I'll pause it, I'll run it back and go, holy crap, who'd they pull on this play? Who did he scoop up and get? Like, I'm just like a little nerd with that stuff, but you would never see kids do that. And I guess maybe it's because I was a coach's kid, but still, like, that, you don't see that at all today.
No.
Super weird. Like, it's odd, like you said.
You don't. And I drive my wife crazy on Sundays with watching football because, like you, I'm that guy that's yelling at the TV and I'm calling out I'm calling out the penalties that they're missing and stuff like that. And my wife was like, "Why don't you just coach? Like, why don't you just get into coaching?" I was like, "I've always said I'd be a better coach than I was a player." And, but it's just it's weird though that I'm that way. I get what you're saying. Like, I mean, I won't rewind and watch the same play over and over like the coaches do, but I see the whole field when I watch the game. I'm not watching a specific player.
Kids don't do that. Like, you don't. If you see one nowadays, they're either a coach's kid or you're like, wow, you see the game a little differently.
Right.
And it's just like it's so odd to me. Like, these kids. Like, I teach right now at an elementary school, and like, these kids will get on their iPads and just pull up highlights, and they're watching the highlights and stuff. And I'll be like, I'll see one of the plays from the highlights and be like, hey, did you remember in that game this happened? They're like, what? I'm like, that game, like, where he made that play, and they're like, they don't even know what you're talking about because they're just watching the highlight tape, and you're like, all right, never mind, forget it.
I don't get it. It's like there's so much more that happened in that game that you're not getting.
But that kind of goes off the culture too. Like, these kids don't know how to act when something goes wrong because they expect good. And if it's something, their attention span's not long enough, or if something's not, a positive thing, they're kind of freak out about it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right with that. So I mentioned this in the intro, but yeah, you ended up at Bethany College. So why Bethany College? I guess I ask everybody that goes there, and and what did you graduate with in your degree?
So that would be a long story because I didn't go to Bethany out of high school. So if you want, I'll take it from right out of high school for me and how I got there, I guess.
Hey, you're on the Ride Home Rants podcast, so that we're good with long stories.
All right. So I was a quarterback in high school. I had like 3 small Division I scholarships coming out of high school. Never actually signed on signing. I couldn't make a decision. None of them had my major that I wanted. So I've been up and down the recruiting trail. I ended up at Wingate University, which is a Division II school in Charlotte. I ended up there. I played my freshman year. We won the conference championship. And then I didn't start. We had a senior that came back. He graduated, and, I went into spring ball, and I was doing really well. I was announced the starter for about 1 week. And then we had a morning workout, and then I completely shattered my ankle, completely blew it out. I tore every tendon, ligament, and I had a bone spur. So I had to get reconstructive surgery on that. Got that took, I was like a 5-month. People don't realize, like, they're so good at doing knee surgeries now these days. Like, a knee is no problem. You tear your ACL, cool, man. You'll be back in 7 months, you're ready to roll.
Right.
The ankle is something they still haven't figured out fully yet. It's a tough break when you do stuff like that. And I was lucky enough that we had such a good team doctor. He had done a lot of guys in the NFL's ankles before, for the Carolina Panthers. Like, he was their doctor as well. So I was lucky enough to get that. And I guess after surgery, he told me, I've done probably over 2,000 of these surgeries, these reconstructive surgeries, and yours is probably the top 100 worst.
Not a top 100 you want to be a part of.
Yeah, no, not one you want. So I went through like extensive rehab for that. I thought I was able to get back. I only finished about 80% of my rehab. I could not even do the last 20%. So from there, I tried to rehab it on my own. Just never came around. Like I would go for a jog or a run, and the next day I could barely walk. And it's still like that to this day. Like if I go for a 5-minute jog, I'll be feeling it the next day. So my career just kind of went like completely ended at one moment. Didn't know what to do. My scholarship, was gone. So I took a year off, moved back to Pittsburgh and took care of my grandfather. I worked down on the south side of Pittsburgh at a beer distributor doing maintenance. I was on a forklift every day. And I was like, it hit me. I was like, I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. Like I'm not doing it. So I was like, I'm going back to school. I knew at this point I wasn't going to play. Like I knew I could still throw the ball just as good as I wanted to. I could put it wherever I wanted, but I could not move. So I knew football was out of it. Bethany came to my attention because 2 of my cousins went to Bethany actually, and they were both physical education, which is what I am. They graduated from there and got jobs back in PA. Both of my parents were teachers as well. So I was like, I would love to teach and coach because coaching is just in me. And if you want to coach high school ball, it's good to be a teacher. So, it made sense for me to go to Bethany, somewhere that they were familiar with. And it was still kind of close to home, which I call home Pennsylvania, like Pittsburgh. Like that's home to me. Virginia is not really home. We have no one there. None of our family lives there anymore. It was just us. So it made sense in that cause, and it led me there, and I'm glad I did. It was a good move for me to get back into things.
Go ahead.
No, that's where I ended up meeting Falcone and stuff too. So it was perfect situation for me to go in there and go to physical education and kind of restart my college life.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I'm one of the ones that went to Bethany right out of high school. And kind of a similar situation to you. I mean, I've told this story on here before, but I played football, but I was a better swimmer than I was a football player, and swimming was kind of my main sport, I guess you could say. I had a lot of D1 offers my junior year of high school to go and swim, and decided that, even though I have these D1 offers, I'm still going to play football my senior year. And, I tore my shoulder up the first day we put on pads.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it. I thought it was just a stinger. I played the entire season on a separated shoulder. And went to swim practice after the season and couldn't move my left arm. And had to forego my senior year of high school swimming. Lost all my scholarships except for Bethany. They were the only one that kept the scholarship. So I ended up at Bethany. And, they, like you, I met Johnny there, and, we're still good friends to this day, umpteen years later. And, everyone's like, wanted to look back and say, would you change it? No. Why would I change it?
Yeah, sure. That's a big question, right? Yeah. Like, would you do it over? Like, if you could do it over, would you change things?
Yeah, everyone asks me that all the time. Well, and you know what? I shouldn't listen. My dad tried talking me out of playing my senior year. He hated that I was a swimmer. Let's get to He hated that I was a swimmer. He was just like, your senior year, you don't have to play football. I was like, you know what? I put up with Coach Ryder's crap for 3 years. What's one more year of him playing guys that aren't better than me? And, just because they have the right last name. I'll put up, I got one more year left in me. I can do it. And then the swim season, and then it's off to college, and I'm swimming in college, And I should have listened. Obviously, dumb teenage kid, hindsight's 20/20. I get it, but
sure,
it's just funny. People ask me all the time, like, would you do it over again? Yeah, in a heartbeat, because it's got me to where I am today. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that question. It's something that I probably think about once a week. I get asked it a lot from, friends or whatever. I could not, the recruiting situation, it's tough, man. Like it's a roller coaster of a game. Now I was lucky enough, like my uncle played football at Louisville. He was a 3-year starter at Louisville. My dad had been a coach, so he knew the recruiting process. And even now looking back on it, it's kind of crazy that my dad never pushed me into making a decision. And I'm grateful he didn't. He was, as much as how hard he was on me as a coach, he was a better father. As great of a coach he was a better father. And I'm grateful that he never pushed me, even though looking back now, if I was in his situation, I probably would have told my son, like, you're picking on signing day, you're not passing this for free education up. Yeah. And it's kind of crazy to me. It was weird for me. Like, one of my offers was VMI. And I did, even though you didn't have to enlist after, I did not want to do the military while I was there. I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. And now, is that a great school? Absolutely. Like, you get your degree from there, you're set. But they didn't have my major. And I forget who told me this. It might have been my dad, but, with the recruiting process, he said, or whoever told me, they said, when you go on these recruiting trips and when you go on your official visits and stuff, you want to ask yourself, would you stay at this school if you didn't have football? Would you really like the school, or is it just because they've offered you a scholarship? Because that can get taken away from you as quick as it can. And at the time, you hear that and you think you're Superman. You're like, I'm never going to get hurt. Right. You try not to listen. You're like, I'm never going to get hurt. But it was always in the back of my mind when I went to this school. So I never forget on my overnight visit at VMI, I'm like, if I didn't play football, would I still want to go here? And my answer was, hell no. I would not want to go here. Absolutely not. No. So they were my first offer, and I never forget having to tell them no. That was a hard decision. Delaware State, where that's where coach, who's the coach at Bethany?
Garvey.
Garvey, he's I think at Delaware State now.
He just accepted a job at Brooke High School as their AD.
No way.
He's at Brooke High School as their AD.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got with Johnny. I was like, hey, if they're looking to rebuild and he needs a new swimmer football coach, tell him to hit up your boy here.
You know what? That's really good. That's awesome, because I'll sidetrack real quick, but I did my student teaching at Brooke at the middle school and the high school last fall. And his son, Jack, was in the middle school. And me and Jack knew each other from when I first got to Bethany. I helped out with the football team a little bit. That's how me and Falcone met, actually, because he was still there at the time. And me and Jack used to throw football together all the time. And I know Jack was talking about, my dad's out in Delaware. I think they were thinking about moving out to Delaware full time and stuff. So that's good, though, that he came back, for the family aspect. That's awesome. His daughter, I think, goes to Bethany. So that's great for Garvey. That's awesome.
Yeah, Johnny told me that, and I was super pumped for him because I know how he was as a coach at Bethany, and even when he was at Delaware State. And I know what he can bring to the Brooke High School program. Even from the administrative side, and I want to see that program get back to where it was even before I was there, because it was a powerhouse.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I've heard all about it,
and it's not anymore.
No.
When I was there, and I graduated in 2007, we were 5-5 for 3 years. We were average, and never made the playoffs up until my senior year. And even then, we went 6-4. We barely snuck into the playoffs, and it showed because the first game against Martinsburg, we lost 45-7. So but I want to see it get back to that, and I think Garvey can do that.
Yeah, you want that tradition, at a place like that too, that knows that success, and a town that craves it. Yeah. A town that comes alive when that team's winning. That's all about that. So you want to see that. That makes me happy. That's great to hear that he's there. I didn't know that, so I'm glad I heard you told me that. That's really good.
Yeah, Johnny just told me a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, good. But yeah, back to whatever. The whole recruiting process. Delaware State had offered me, went on my visit there, said the same thing. Would I want to go here? No, absolutely not. I would not. And they didn't have my major. So I was 0 for 2 for these two schools, but it was free education, but not your major. And maybe if something happens, you're not happy or what? So I never signed on signing day, fell through the cracks. There were a couple other opportunities at some other Division I schools, but Wingate had called me. And what drove me there was their coach is Joe Reich, which is Frank Reich, who's now the head coach it's his brother.
Yeah, okay.
They look identical and sound identical. But when I met him, like, what a guy, like, what a coach. So he's what drove me to go there, and he had a great culture there. And they're a D2 powerhouse. Like, they're tough. And I ended up there, and then obviously landed at Bethany. But the recruiting process is tough for anyone that knows it, man. It's a roller coaster of emotions. One minute you think you're, on top, and you think you're going to get more and more offers, bigger and bigger, and then next year slipping through the cracks and you're not signing on signing day, and things are like, I can't believe, it's funny, I can't believe my dad never pushed me to be like, you're picking one of these schools, it's free education. But he let that be on my full decision, and I never made a decision on time. I didn't make a decision on time. I couldn't decide. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I felt stuck even though I had those offers. So
mine would have been a lot easier for me to make a decision because WVU was one of the schools.
Okay. So that's like a no-brainer.
I had been talking about it as soon as I hit high school. Me and my best friend, like, we were like talking, like, well, we're going to go to WVU together. Like, that's going to happen. We're going to room together.
That's like the dream.
Yeah, he was getting it. He already knew he was going there, and then I lost that scholarship, and Bethany kept theirs, and I was like, hey, man, like, this is a hard conversation to have, but I know we've been talking about this for 4 years. I'm not going to WVU. I'm going, you know what I mean? Like, I had offers. I can't even remember. It was everywhere. WVU, Marshall, Ohio State had one of them. Like, a bunch of big names.
Yeah, so big time swimming, like, that's big.
Yeah, and even when I was at Bethany, after I, rehabbed and everything like that, they were even nice enough to say, hey, we're going to let you, quote unquote, manage the team your freshman year because we know you're rehabbing your shoulder.
Yeah, sure.
That way you're on this team and you keep your scholarship.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And you know what? Had I not re-injured my shoulder, I had a shot at the 2012 Olympic trials.
Right. Yeah.
And, so, it's...
it's always, everything's always hindsight, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy because I could go, like, I don't want to get into it more and bore everyone that's going to be listening to this and stuff, but like, like, I never forget, I slipped through the cracks, and then all of a sudden Marshall was on me and stuff, and it's just like, you're always like, man, what if I would have done that? What if I would have done that? But things happen for a reason. You kind of just got to let it roll, even though at the time you're like, man, like, what is going on in my life? Like, you never think you're going to get hurt, ever, when you're young, ever. Like, it's not even a thought that crosses your mind, ever. Like, so, and especially if you do get hurt, you never think it's going to be like you're done.
Right.
It's like more like, okay, I'll get over this and we'll be back.
Right. But I tell my son every day, I'm like, dude, you're not invincible. Like, I have to tell you this, like, you're not. Yeah. You're not. Listen to the, and like, my shoulder still cracks when I.
Yeah, if I move my ankle, it's like a door cracking open.
And he's just like, oh, what is that? I was like, yeah, I thought I was invincible too. And now I'm in my 30s and it hurts every day. So,
right.
But I want to get into something too. We mentioned this at the beginning of the show, both being Italian. So, like I said, I love having Italian. So do you have any Italian, like, traditions that you do with the family or anything like that, or anything like that? I love talking all things Italian.
Not anything out of the ordinary. It's my dad's side's, like 75% Italian, a little bit French. His mom was French a little bit. My mom's side's weird. It's like Hungarian, German, everything that you're just like, no, And I wish she had some Italian descent. That would be great, but we'll let her slide. But nothing crazy. Like, every Sunday, my father's side, we get together and have a huge Sunday. Like, that's pretty standard almost, I think, amongst most Italian families. You getting together for a Sunday dinner, and it's not even dinner. You call it dinner, and it's like 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Right. It's basically church.
Yeah, it's basically you're eating from 12 to 4. And but something I look forward to, I'll tell you that. But nothing really out of the ordinary. Simple stuff like that. Family get together, like family, cookouts and stuff like that. Really, like we had a lot more Italians on my dad's side before they passed away, and the more so of getting together, and like all of my distant cousins that are really Italian, we don't see each other as much anymore. Like my family came off the boat from Calabria back, to Ellis Island and stuff, and they actually had to change. Like I think a lot of this happened with Italians, but they had to change their names when they came over because they were wanted by a mafia. They had some mafia relations back in the home country and changed their last name to DeMarco, when they were in New York before they came down to Pittsburgh. But nothing out of the ordinary. A lot of family get-togethers.
Yeah, see, I'm a little upset because my parents they're not, they didn't do it last year, but it's every Christmas Eve they have the Feast of the Seven Fishes. And I'm not a big fish eater as it is. So
not me. I'm a huge fish eater.
See, so but that's the one time a year that I'll eat fish, and it's sure. Christmas Eve, and they didn't do it this year, and it kind of worked out though because if they would have did it, like it would have been ruined. My parents both got COVID for Christmas, so I didn't get to go home,
right,
and see them anyways, but. My dad's like, I just don't think we're going to do it anymore. It's just getting to be too much of a hassle to go to the Strip in Pittsburgh and get these fishes, a week.
Yeah, where do they go in the Strip? Holies?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah.
They go. It's a whole day. It's an event when they go to the Strip. So,
sure.
Because they're getting everything there. But yeah, it's that was the big thing, and I've always had. I know for the viewers that are watching this on YouTube and that my necklace with the Italian charms on it. That's kind of that's kind of it, and I'm always wearing gold jewelry, so my wife gets on.
Yeah, it's got the same here, buddy.
Yeah.
So how. Yep.
And, but yeah, like that was a big thing, and like you said, Sunday dinner. Now, given I'm 2 hours away from my family, where I moved with my wife and everything like that, so I don't get to have the big Sunday dinner, but we still have sauce on Sunday. Like
sure.
That's our day. And my wife, who is full Irish, is still like, I hate Sunday because I hate making sauce for you because I don't think it's going to be good enough.
That's funny that you say that too, because my girlfriend's Irish, so it's like, you know what I mean?
And it's funny because she's getting better at it. Like I'm gonna say, like the first couple of years, I'm not gonna lie, it was rough. And she doesn't listen to the show.
Oh man!
But she is trying to compare herself like my grandmother's recipe. That I was like, my grandparents were off the boat from Sicily. You're not gonna be that.
It's never gonna happen. Never.
And they still won't give me the recipe, which upsets me. They say I haven't earned it yet. That's the big thing, is I haven't earned the sauce recipe yet. And I'm just I'm just like, please, like I'm 2 hours away. I don't get it. I need to be able to make it. You know what I mean? And but my wife every Sunday, she's like, all right, Paisan, come and taste this and make sure it's all right. All right.
Now let me ask you this as a fellow Italian. Does it bother you when people call it, like, have you ever heard the certain amount? I don't even know if it's real Italians, maybe like New Jersey people. They call it gravy.
Bothers the hell out of me.
I can't stand that.
Yeah.
I cannot stand it. It's sauce. I don't understand what this whole concept of gravy is. And you see it in Italian movies too. Like, I want to say in The Sopranos, they even talk about like gravy or something like that. But I can't stand it.
I can't either, but I think you're right. I think it's that New Jersey, New York.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think so. I don't get it though.
But yeah, I don't understand it.
Gravy's for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Not for, like that makes no sense to me. I can't. It grinds my. I just wanted to ask and see what your take on that was.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel very strongly about that.
You're the first one. No, there's been one other one. Jordan Branca was on here, and and I said sauce. He goes, "I'm so happy you called it sauce. Like if you would have called it gravy, I would have just ended it."
Can't stand it, man.
But yeah, you're the only other one that's like, you know what? Where did it come from? How is it gravy?
Yeah.
Gravy.
Who started that?
Yeah, I want to find him and like.
I guarantee you, they weren't Italian.
Not even close.
There's no way.
No.
But
yeah, that's one thing. I mean, I can do a whole nother show on why it's not gravy. It's not gravy.
No, it's not.
It's
No,
sauce.
it's a great debate.
But but my wife is, she's getting better at it because every time I taste it, I'm like, you're getting better. And I tell her that too. It's like, you're getting better at it. Like, she's like, really?
My cousin. So my direct blood cousin, her husband. So my cousin-in-law, Mike. I'm actually going there this weekend for Mother's Day. We're getting get together on Sunday up at his place this weekend, and he's got some Italian descent on his side, and his grandparents have been making a sauce forever, and apparently he's perfected it. I've never had it yet, and I'm going to have it for the first time this Sunday, and it's been talked of as legendary, so I'm pretty pumped. Yeah. But my expectations are like here now because I've just heard about this sauce. So either I'm going to grill him and be like, I don't know what you thought, how crazy. I don't want to disrespect anyone. I'll probably pull him in private and say, Mike, this was not I'll probably be like, this is not what I heard of. Or it's going to be spectacular. He's a pretty good cook. So I'm going to go ahead and say that it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
But
that's the other thing is my wife wasn't used to a man that likes to cook. I love to cook.
Love it. I love being in the kitchen. Yeah. I love it.
And when we first got together, I'd go in the kitchen when she was cooking, and she'd turn to me. She's like, all right, I have one rule when I'm cooking. Get out of the kitchen.
Get out of here.
I'm just like, I can help. Like, I know my way around a kitchen. Like, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
And she got a little taste of it actually during COVID because I wasn't working for 6 weeks, and she was still an essential business and was working every day. And she would come home and dinner be ready because I was home all day. So, and I'll never forget, the first meal she ate, she was like, oh my God. I was like, what? She goes, this is amazing. I was like, yeah, I'm a Dago. I know how to cook. Like,
right.
And she was like, oh my God. I was like, yeah, for 6 years you've been keeping me out of the kitchen. And like, now I'm telling you.
Maybe you should let me take a turn or two, huh?
Why don't you go sit down and let me?
Yeah.
Let me.
It's the same thing here. Like Michaela's a great cook, so like will find recipes. She'll cook everything she's made. It's spectacular, but she still can't stand when like she'll put chicken on the skillet and she'll go start chopping, cutting onions or something. And while she's doing that, I'm over at the skillet making sure hey, is this on the right temperature? What are we at here? I'll mess around. She can't stand when I'm messing around with things, making sure things are okay. Or trying to take charge on something, she'll slap me on the head and be like, get out. You got to get out right now. And I let her do her thing because she is a great cook. But she just can't stand when I want to be in there. I hope she listens to this. But she cannot stand when I'm in there wanting to take the turns. So it's funny.
I get it. So
I tell her, and I do make the joke. I bet you do this too. I go, Kayla, you're Irish. No offense, but you don't know how to cook at all. Like I don't think Irish food is all that. I said maybe you could start a brewery and make some beer because Irish are known for the breweries and the Guinness and all that. I said, but when it comes to the kitchen, maybe you need a little bit of Italian help in here. And she grinds her. I just say it just to piss her off. Like grinds her gears. No offense to any Irish listeners out here.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we have the food debates all the time, but you know what? My wife's a hell of a cook, and she doesn't make just typical Irish stuff. But we're coming into because we made a little bit of a deal. She was like, "All right, fine then. Summertime, you cook. Wintertime, I'll cook." Because I'm a big grill guy too.
Sure.
And I just got a brand new smoker that I'm so happy it's warming up that I'm able to use it. And like I was cooking, but just like being in the kitchen, I was out there, I was making sure the temperature was right. She's like, "You're gonna fuss that to death." I'm like, "How about you just shut up and go sit down?"
Yeah. Here's another thing she can't stand is like she'll have a recipe or something. She's one of those ones like she'll find a recipe, she'll follow it step by step by step by step, and I will find a recipe. Like I'll see the recipe she takes, and I'll turn it into my own. Okay. Here's what I'm going to change. She can't stand that at all. When I want to put my little touch on something, she's like, "No, we're making it how the recipe called for it. You're not changing." I'm like, well, it would be little bit better if we added some of this or maybe a little garlic powder here. She'll freak out with that.
The first time my wife saw me seasoning anything, she came in, she was like, well, how much are you putting in there? I was like, I'm putting it in there until the ancestors tell me to stop.
Yeah, until it hits my head like, all right, I think we're good.
The spirit of my ancestors.
Oh, my gosh.
That enough of Michael. You done. Like, and
That's good. That's too good.
I tell her all the time, and then we'll get into this last segment here, but I got to tell her this. Like, I tell this story all the time, and it's about my great-grandparents. And, I wish she was around to meet them because they had that thick accent, and I always loved going to their house. But it was funny because I was always this little stick of a person. I graduated high school 6'5", 155 pounds. Like, I wasn't the biggest guy in the world. And my grandparents, oh my God, every time we'd go over there, my great-grandmother would look at my dad and go, Michael, what are you feeding this a boy? He looked like a baby bird. And like, she had that accent, and she would just get on him. And then she would lose English, and she would go straight to Italian. I'm like, I think you should leave her alone and just listen to her. Because now she's telling you she's no longer responsible for her actions because she just lost English.
Yeah. Right.
And I do that accent to my wife all the time. She's like, oh, my God, your grandmother sounds like a Spitfire. I think I would have loved her. I was like, yeah, Grandma B was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what they called me. My nickname when I was a kid was Birdcage because when I had my shirt off, I was so skinny, you could see my ribs and it looked like a birdcage.
Yep. And
whenever we would go to Sunday dinner, like, there was never enough food. Like, no, Jordan, you have to eat more. Like, you look like you're starving. You got to keep eating. Like, they shovel the food down your – take some home. No matter how much you eat, take it home. Go. You got to eat. You got to eat.
You a manja. That's what I always
say.
You a manja.
Yeah.
And I still remember going over there. I could have just ate at my dad's, and he'd be like, "No, Grandma, we ate already." She goes, "No, you will sit down. I make a food," and then she would go and cook. Like, and she wasn't supposed to be standing. Like, that's how.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
yeah. It's a different world.
And that's what my wife looks at me like at any dinner. And she's like, "Where the hell does it go? How can you eat so much?" I was like, "I grew up Italian. That's what we do. Like, we eat."
It's nonstop, right?
It's just they're just going to shovel food into your mouth, and like she got a little bit of a better taste of that a couple months ago. Back in March, we were back at my parents, and a lot of our birthdays fall in the same area, so we just have one big party for everybody.
Sure.
And it just so happened that it was for Easter, and we had went to my wife's dad's first. We had a dinner and dessert there, and then like an hour later, we were at my parents, and my wife was like, "I don't think I can eat." I was like, "I'm gonna eat." Like I was like, "You better at least get a plate and just pick at it. I don't care. Put it on my plate."
You gotta get something though. You cannot just go and not eat.
Right. And then I ate another dinner there, like within an hour of each other, and then finally, after we sang happy birthday and all that for everybody and all that, and then they brought out desserts, and I was like, well, what do we have for dessert? My wife was like, how can you put any more food into your body? You had 2 plates at Dad's, and you had 3 plates here. How do you? I was like, there's always room for dessert.
Always.
and then we got a doggy bag to go home.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And the whole 2-hour ride home, I was just sitting in the passenger seat, like, you have to drive. I'm not going to make it. Like, that's
right. Food coma. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, the meal's not over when I'm full. The meal's over when I hate myself. That's when the
exactly.
Meals are over.
That's exactly correct, though. Yeah. It amazes me still how, like, my aunt every Sunday, I'll go there, and it's just the spread is ridiculous. I can't even believe it. There's no tabletop like counter space. Everything's covered. Like, you got your antipasta, you got your charcuterie, like everything. You got your nuts, you got your meats, you got your salad, you got this, you got that. And then like whatever she decided the theme was for that day, whether it be pasta, whether it be whatever, like I can't believe how much food there is. And there's always 3 or 4 different kinds of dessert. And it's every Sunday. I'm like, this woman gets up at 5:30 on a Sunday morning and just goes at it from 5:30 until 3 o'clock. Yeah. Like just get crazy every single Sunday. Like, I can't believe it. She's been doing this forever. And isn't that funny too? Like, we get together every Sunday. If you miss one Sunday, everyone's like, where the hell were you at? Where were you? You know, like, are you okay? Are you alive? Is everything all right? We didn't see you this Sunday.
When we first moved to the Zanesville, Philo area where we're at now, and, you know, I had to miss the Sunday dinner. Like, we still went every Sunday to my parents, and we had dinner.
Yeah.
And, like, it was a culture shock that they were calling me. My mom called, my dad called, my grandmother called, my sisters called. I don't
like worried sick.
Yeah, and, like, my mom called. She's like, Michael, where are you? I was like, at home? What? Like, I'm 2 hours away now, Ma. Like, what? I trust me. I want to be there eating delicious food. Like, but I can't make that 2-hour drive every Sunday.
Yeah.
I drive a pickup truck, Mom. Gas is $5 a gallon.
It's not happening, right?
It's not happening. I love you guys to death, but right now it's holidays. Let's enjoy the holidays.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can go.
But again, that's that family-oriented culture. Like, that's what it is. You know, it's tight-knit group. It's, you know.
And you know what? My wife's never had that. Like, she's not used. She has a very small Irish family.
Yeah, sure.
And she wasn't used to that. Like, now, like, you know, I made sure I have a job where I have Sundays off because she has Sundays off, and that's like a day together and everything like that. But it's to the point now where, like, now she's like, I'm starting to get it. I was like, yeah, you've been around my family 7 years, and you're just now starting to get it. Like, that's how long it takes to get it.
Yeah.
We eat, and we want to be around each other. Like, that's
exactly.
That's it.
Yep, exactly.
Because she's always just like, why don't you, like, it's Friday, I'm working late, why don't you go out with, like, your buddies or anything, like, or something like that. I was like, well, one, none of my buddies live around here anymore, and two, I work, and then you'll be home, and I'll have dinner ready for you. Like, that's what we're gonna do. Like, that's how that works.
Right.
She wasn't used to that, and it's fine. I get it. You'll get used to it.
Yeah.
It'll sink in. But I could talk Italian stuff all day long, but I do got to get this segment in because you do know Johnny and how he is, and he will kill me if I don't get this in. But it is the Fast 55. 5 random questions for the wonderful manager of the podcast, Johnny Fitty Falcone. And Jordan, I mean, he sent these to me today. I'm going to let you know that now. So we're going to read these together. You can elaborate if you need to. They're considered rapid fire though. So if you
got it. Keep it quick.
And they're Fitty questions. So if you're ready,
oh gosh, all right.
All right. Question number 1: is a Milky Way or a Snickers better?
Snickers, not even close. There's nuts in it. It's crunch. It's better. Snickers are better.
I'm a Milky Way guy. I'm sorry.
Are you? My mom, Milky Way. I'm Team Snickers. That's an easy one for me. Especially the frozen ones that are in the summer. You ever had the ice cream ones? Oh, buddy.
I have had the ice cream ones. Are good. I'll give you that.
They're good stuff.
Give you that one. All right. Question number 2. Oh, God. If your nickname had to be either one of these, which would it be? Which would you pick? Slim or Tiny?
Slim. Yeah. I hate Tiny. I can't stand that.
Yeah, I've been called Tiny.
I'd rather be Slim.
Yeah, I've been called Tiny my entire life. Slim, for sure. Question number 3. Is Wheel of Fortune or Family Feud better?
Family Feud. Wheel of Fortune's like a snooze fest these days.
It really is.
Give me Steve Harvey and Family Feud any day of the week.
Absolutely. Here we go. Yeah. If you had to be either a duck or a swordfish, which would you pick?
I'm going to go swordfish only because I love the ocean, and I feel like, I don't know, in a weird way, I have some like weird spiritual connection to the ocean. I love the ocean a lot. So I guess swordfish only because I'd be in the ocean 24/7. And even though you're not an apex predator, you're still a fairly top predator. But I don't know, duck's got, duck can go on land too. That's the tough one. Duck really doesn't have any primary. Oh gosh, I'm sticking with swordfish. I can't go back on it now for the ocean aspect. Right. But probably in hindsight, it's duck. But I'm gonna stay swordfish. Stay true to it.
Okay. Yeah, there's always an animal question in these, by the way. Like this, him right now. But
I don't think anyone's going to agree with my swordfish one. Probably duck, but whatever.
I kind of agree with that. I'm cool with that. I'm a swimmer, fish. I get it. Yeah. Last question here. One word to describe Pittsburgh is
blue collar. That's 2 words. I'll tell you this. I'll go proud. That's a proud city.
It is, but just that's 2 words there.
1 word, proud. I'll go that. They are proud to be everyone, and I love it. Everyone from Pittsburgh's proud to be from Pittsburgh. They're proud to have the Steelers. They're proud to have the Penguins. And, I mean, the Buccos, the Pirates.
We're proud for the Pirates.
We were proud until they went on this 1-9 stretch, but I guess we're still proud.
Yeah, I'm a Buccos fan. I like everything Pittsburgh, but like people down here are like always shocked that I'm like, yeah, I'm a Pirates fan. They're like, you admit that?
Yeah,
like,
I have a Pirates P tattooed on my shoulder, so yeah, love them, but
they disappoint me every year. Like when they went on that stretch of winning, and like I was just like, because I have to get as we were talking about earlier, the highlights and the ESPN stuff, because I don't get them down here in Zanesville. I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Because it's the same distance to Cleveland as it is to Pittsburgh. And I get Cleveland instead of Pittsburgh. I digress. But I was just looking at my wife like, did they remember how to play baseball? What is going on? Like,
how could they, isn't that so Pirates, though? Like, they pull you in like this, and you're like, oh my gosh, we're actually good. We got pitching. We're hitting the crap out of the ball. We don't even have O'Neal Cruz, and we're still crushing guys. And then they go, and then they go 1-9, and you're like, this team's dead. But you know what's crazy? I didn't even realize we went on that 1-9 stretch, and we're still a half game in first place.
I would say we're still in first place, though. Still in first place.
How bad is our division? Holy crap.
Terrible.
It used to be the best. Remember, back in 13, 14, 15, it was like, you had the Cubs that were good. We were good at that time. The Cardinals are always the Cardinals, and they stink this year.
The Reds are just they're taking over our place at the bottom of the division. Like it's we might have a chance with the way this is going.
Anything in Ohio is just trash. But we're not going to get into that, right?
You're good. I wear the West Virginia hat all the time, so you're good. But, all right, we are running down near the end of the episode here, Jordan. I give every guest this opportunity at the end of the show. If there's anything you want to get out there, whether it's just a good message or anything like that, I'm going to give you about a minute. The floor is yours.
Okay, this is on the spot. Don't know what I have to say, really. I don't know what to say here. I guess I will first, just real quick, thank Falcone for meeting him and then giving me the opportunity to do this with you. It's a great show. I had a lot of fun on this. I guess I'll just, real quick, I guess everyone's kind of been mental health stuff. If you're listening to this and you're struggling with stuff, don't be afraid to go talk to someone about it. Everyone's got their own personal battles. So if you're struggling with something, no matter how tough you think you are, go find someone to talk to. It's always better to kind of let that stuff air out and talk about with someone you trust than to keep it inside because they can eat away at you. So that's about it for me.
I love it. People in this episode with a message like that because, I'm big on, helping with mental health and everything like that too as well. So that is perfect that you went there. I'm so happy you did that. Thank you, Jordan, for coming on. I really do appreciate it. This was a lot of fun to sit and talk to you. I mean, I could talk all things Italian all day, but we are at a time limit, unfortunately.
Yep, all good. I appreciate having me on. It was a great time. So
not a problem. That is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. I do have 2 new sponsors I want to get in here at the end. That is Dubby Energy. Energy drinks for creators, streamers, gamers, podcasters alike. This stuff is phenomenal. I've tried it. It has replaced my morning coffee and my morning Monster, and I don't get that jittery. There's no crash. Use the promo code Mike Bono. Get you 10% off your first purchase there. And also, I am so happy about this one. Shankitgolf. Golf apparel For the everyday golfer like myself, if you are bad at golf but still love to enjoy the game and go out and golf, you need to check out their merchandise that they have there. They have hats, bags, golf gloves, everything there, and it's for the everyman that will help you rock it on and off the course. Again, promo code Mike Bono gets you 15% off. As always, if you enjoyed the show, be a friend, tell a friend. If you didn't, tell them anyways. They might like it just because you didn't. That's going to do it for me, and I will see y'all next week.
The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by W Energy. Energy drinks made for gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. For gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. Go to the link in the description where you can find the best energy drinks out there. Less caffeine than a cup of coffee. Also, no jitters and no crash afterwards. Use the promo code Mike Bono and get yourself 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my favorite sponsor of the show, and that is Shankitgolf. Golf apparel made for the everyday golfer. We might not go out and shoot a 6 under par. We're probably going to shoot a 6 over par, but this is going to give us the gear that's going to help us rock it on and off of the course. Go to the link in the bio, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get yourself 10% off there as well.